Alrighty, so part 2 of the review of match week number 6, and what I decided to do is that I'm actually going to look at these 4 games on this board before I actually watch the game between the Portland Timbers versus the LA Galaxy, which at the time of this recording, it's going to kick off in about an hour time, and then after that game is over, I will be looking at that one, and then one more game that was supposed to be on this board, but because of a long weather delay that happened in that game, I decided to kind of push that one to the other board because I'm trying to go in terms of when each of these games, of course, was kickoff. And of course, these are the games that I didn't watch, and I had to rely on watching the highlights in terms of some of these games. So it's definitely not going to be as much in depth as the one that I did yesterday, where in part one, those are all the games that I either watch entirely or I watch part of it. But let us begin with talking about the first one, which is DC United versus Atlanta United. And this game, it looked like it was going to end scoreless. It was a game where there was some chances for both of these teams, but as the time winds down, you just kind of had a feeling that this was going to end in a scoreless draw. But in the first half, Guzan was able to deny Durkin from 10 yards out. I mean, if Chris Durkin can score there, what a return that would be for him to come back to DC United. Smith then blazed it high from long range in the 8th minute. DC definitely start out the game strong. Martinez had Atlanta's first opportunity, but his header goes just high before Heinz Ike hits one high on the corner in the 27th minute. Guzan then denied Roberta, who was through on goal there. And then Gresham had a header that was clear off the line. And DC definitely having more of the opportunity early in this game. Though Amada had an opportunity from the free kick, but he hits one straight to Hamid before Hamid had to deny. I make the same mistake as I did yesterday, where he actually did not deny himself. But I think it was more on. I forgot who. I think it might have been Martinez, the one that he did not there. But yeah, he made a good save there right on the stroke of halftime to keep this one scoreless heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Gressel flashed a header wide in the 60th minute before Franco missed one wide on the header in the 70th minute, and I thought that this game kind of started to become a little bit up for grabs because I feel like even though I said before that it looks like it's gonna end scoreless, there was definitely some chances and that there might be a goal that is in it, and that whoever scores that next goal most likely is gonna get all 3 points. Conway's trying to be the guy that scored the only goal for Atlanta in this one, but his header goes wide from 10 yards down the 85th minute. But then on the 4th minute of stoppage time, Marcelo Moreno would score from Lennon to give Atlanta United a 1-0 lead. It was not great set piece defending whatsoever for DC United there, but credit Atlanta, of course, putting one in and pretty much broke the hearts of all those fans at Audi Field. And yeah, in the end, Atlanta was able to win 1-0 in that one. As the shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 10 that DC has. 3 shots on goal compared to 2 that DC had. 8 shots off target compared to 7 that DC had. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that DC had. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that DC has in this game. And while, this is definitely not a game that will inspire a lot of Atlanta fans, hope that things are going to might be a beginning for them to embark on their way to be a contender in the Eastern Conference. Anytime when you're able to get points, and especially getting 3 points on the road, you absolutely would take it. But for DC, I know a draw wouldn't have helped their causes to shake off that slow start, but to lose again, yeah, I mean, it seems like that first 2 games that they, of course, won to start the season, it is now started to become a distant memory and start to really become a mirage of how this team simply just don't have enough. I mean, from what I'm also seeing this season under Lasada is that it seems like he isn't really high pressing as much as I've seen last year, where that's kind of what he decided to do with his high intensity stuff. And maybe this is a year where he kind of realized that maybe just high press the heck out of this team is not the best way to approach. But that being said, this also means that they started look like a Ben Olsen kind of team. And anytime when a DC fans know that if I mention Ben Olsen, they immediately want to shut me up because they remember the nightmare of Ben Olsen, especially in the latter years before he eventually got fired from this team. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is New England and the New York Red Bulls. So this game also featured one goal in it, and a goal that scored was late in this one. But this turns out to be a very strange game, and in some way, the goal that was scored in this game probably is one of the freakiest own goal I've seen in a long time in an MLS game. But early on in the first half, 2 minutes in, Long hits one into the side netting before Knighton, of course, denying Klamala as he go through on goal in the 11th minute. There was no doubt that the Red Bulls was in control early in this game, which was kind of unexpected because I thought, with New England, now that they're out of CCL, you would expect them to kind of look like the team that won the Supporters' Shield last season. But instead, it seems like this game, I think they need to be reminded that they're not in CCL anymore, and they shouldn't be having that hangover like they did in that game against Charlotte, because the Red Bulls really blitzed them early in this game. DeJuan Jones did have a rare opportunity for the Revs, but he hits one straight to Cornell. Knighton then spilled a catch from a cross that was coming in, but was not punished. I thought Brad Knighton had a good game in this one, despite that rare mistake. And in some way, he kind of kept this game 0-0 as long as possible, because just 1 minute later, he would deny Amaya from distance. And again, the Red Bulls would continue to press for the opener, but they aren't able to get that as we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. And the second half, Yearwood hits one straight to Knighton, and I thought the Red Bulls pick up where they left off and continue to try to press for an opener. Knighton then absolutely robbed Cáceres from 10 yards out in the 56th minute, and I immediately wrote, Revs has to be thankful for Knighton, because I don't know what Matt Turner might have said to Brad Knighton, but it seems like Brad Knighton is channeling his inner Matt Turner in this game, making some decent saves. And oh, by the way, speaking of Matt Turner, he did give an update in terms of the knee injury that he suffered, and that there seems to be some conflict right now, where originally we thought that Matt Turner might have got himself injured, or his knee injury was related to that game between the U.S. and Honduras, and he might have got frostbite. But now it seems like Matt Turner say that is not the cause. The main cause was that in a preseason game he suffered kind of a knee injury off of a reckless challenge, and that's why it's kind of kept him out. But either way, I'm pretty sure Revs fans are really hoping that Matt Turner can eventually return, because they're not going to get him for very long, knowing the fact that in the summer transfer window he is going to be going to Arsenal. And at least at this game, I think Revs fans will be thankful that maybe Brad Knighton might be the guy that is the future for them. I mean, I still feel like heading into the summer, once Matt Turner does move on to Arsenal, they want to be in the market for looking at goalkeeper, because they tried it with Earls Edwards Jr. And while Edwards Jr., I did say that he looked decent in the beginning, I just kind of feel like maybe this is another example of, how when a goalkeeper basically they get frustrated, they tend to look decent in the first couple of games, but maybe when teams started to kind of figure out how the goalkeeper is, that's why they kind of started to do badly. Although I think that's kind of more of a hockey reference than actually it is in soccer, because I know in hockey that of course is the case. But yeah, I feel like the Revs might be in the summer transfer window in the market for a goalkeeper, and that is if they cannot figure out this situation, where is it going to be Brad Knighton that's going to start and goal, or is Edwards Jr. going to be back in that? I mean, after this game, I think Knighton will definitely get another shot. But in the 63rd minute, Cornell was able to deny Leggett from close range before Klamala puts it wide from 10 yards out. But then in the 72nd minute, this is when the game kind of took a turn, and this is when the momentum kind of switched to the Revs, because Amaya unfortunately got his second yellow card as the Red Bulls were down to 10 men. And as I said, the Revs, they realized that, yeah, this might be a chance for us to really push to try to get a winner out of this one. They had a chance in the 80th minute, but Cornell absolutely robbed Leggett from close range, and that the Revs, there was no doubt that they were trying to press for a winner despite being second best throughout the all night. Leggett had another opportunity in the 89th minute, but he hits one straight to Cornell. But then in the 90th minute, really against the run of play, the Red Bulls would score the only goal of the night. And as I said, this was a very free goal where, I think it was Andrew Farrell that was trying to clear this one away, and this was kind of one of those rare sequence when a defender trying to clear away and his own teammate kind of got in the way. And in this case. Polster kind of got in the way. It redirect back toward the goal and ends up into the back of the net. I mean, I even wrote it was a combination of bad luck, but also you kind of had to question a bit of some miscommunication there, because anytime when you try to clear the ball away, I think defenders are basically taught that when you try to clear the ball away, you got to make sure that you don't, when you clear it away, you at least have some space to do so, because if you just kind of clear it away in a crowd, there could be a chance that your clearance could be deflected out. And this time it seems like both Polster and Farrell was literally right next to each other, and there was always that risk that if Farrell did clear that one away, he might accidentally hit Polster, which is exactly what happened in this sequence. But either way, if I want to look at it in not a cynical kind of point, or not really cynical, I don't think that's the right word, but more like a critical kind of viewpoint, I think that was more just bad luck for the refs in that one. And yeah, they find themselves 1-0 down in that one, and then just a couple of minutes later, more bad news for the refs, as they're not going to have their best goal scored in the next game, because Buxa, of course, gets his second yellow card. Now, I get it. I know that Buxa is frustrated because it seems like he was basically swung, and I forgot which Red Bulls player it was. I think it was Nealis there, is it? Yeah, I even wrote it there. He basically kicked out on Nealis after Nealis basically swing his arm toward him, and I don't think that was intentional. I think Nealis was in a jumping motion, and he accidentally caught his flaring arms into Buxa's face. But if you're Buxa, I know it's frustrating, but you shouldn't be kicking out like that, especially when you're already on a yellow card. In fact, it was actually a second yellow that basically as the result of the red card. But just pick your choice, because he was gonna get a red card either way, even if he doesn't get if he's not on a yellow because of that kick out. So yeah, overall, a very frustrating night for the refs, and this slow start that they had, it continued after they lose 1-0 at home against the Red Bulls. And the shots in this one, 12 shots could be the 11 that the refs had. Both teams had 5 shots on goal. 2 shots off target could be the 3 that the Red Bulls had. Both teams had 4 shots on block, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And I don't know when we're going to get to a point where we start to be a little bit concerned about the refs in terms of the start of the season, because this is definitely not what they envision when they're trying to get themselves to be an MLS Cup contender after coming a Supporters Shield winning season. But we'll see if they eventually will turn around. But for the Red Bulls, it's a huge 3 points for a team that, again, this is a team that I think I'm kind of surprised of the fact that they're off to a good start. Consider I've said before how I feel like this is finally the year that they fall off, and I feel like now I should learn my lesson that every time I said this is the year that the Red Bulls fall off, they don't. They somehow are able to do well, just enough to extend their streak of making the playoffs, which if they can do, it will be, I think, 14 consecutive seasons now that they have made it to the playoffs. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Philly and Charlotte FC. And, for Charlotte, I knew that coming into this game, this was going to be one that it was almost impossible to try to get a point or even all 3 points against the Union, because we know that the Union is by far the best team in the Eastern Conference. And in this game, they kind of show a very Union kind of way to get all 3 points in the game. But I will say that, for Charlotte, they did play well in this game, and they did have some chances to score in this one. And if it wasn't for them giving up an early goal and then some self-inflicted mistake that they had in the second half, they probably could have got something out of this game. But that being said, like I said, they gave up an early goal just 4 minutes into this game, and it's Julian Carranza scoring his first goal for the Union, for Santos and Wagner, to give the Union a 1-0 lead. I feel like Julian Carranza had a good game in this one, and he's really started to do well for the Union and start to kind of live up to that potential that we thought that he could have reached with Inter Miami, which that kind of now says a lot about Inter Miami, of how it seems like even when they have some promising player and they aren't able to develop them, this is what kind of got Julian Carranza to really not do well with Miami during that time. And that I even said before, when he comes to the Union, I feel like he's going to do well, because he's coming to a team that is much more well coached and much more structured, and it's definitely proving that in his early career with the Union. Martinez, I thought he got away with what could have been a red card after he put a really rough challenge on Ruiz, and almost kind of a studs up challenge in my opinion. I mean, we know Jose Martinez, he doesn't hold back in terms of those rough challenges, and yeah, you got. I feel like he got pretty lucky. The fact that he only got a yellow card, despite the fact that that definitely looked like it was a borderline red challenge on Ruiz. Though there wasn't really much that happened in the first half, as there was only one shot through 37 minutes. But I'm pretty sure Union fans will take it, because that's kind of how they play. Like, this is a team that I've said before. They play good defense. They limit the amount of shots that happen in the game. As I drop my pen there, they limit the amount of shots that they had in the game, and you know, they're always able to grind out, resort to get all 3 points at the end of the day, and it seems like they're doing it once again in this one. Though Bender did have a chance in the 41st minute as he hits one into the side netting from 10 yards out, before Alcever completely mishit a free kick in the first minute of stoppage time that goes into the Sons of Benz and into the stands. But yeah, we head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0, and in the second half it would be 2-0 in favor of the Union, and it actually came just 1 minute into the second half as Gastek would make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. And as I mentioned, you know, self-inflicted mistake kind of cost Charlotte in this game, and this was just an absolute howler and a self-inflicted mistake for Kalina, who he literally just gift wrapped it this one to Gastek. Like, he literally just passed it right to him, and whenever that happens, yeah, that's 9 out of 10 times that's gonna go into the back of net. So yeah, Philly was up 2-0 up to that point. Though Kalina did redeem himself just 5 minutes later, as he was able to deny Carranza of scoring his second goal of the game from close range. Mora then puts it just high on a long-range effort in the 56th minute. It was a bad effort from Mora there, considered that one was hit from far away. Alcever then hits a one-hopper straight to Blake, and Charlotte, I thought they started to press and try to get one back and make this game interesting. Ruiz fired one high on the volley in the 66th minute before Gastek hits it wide as the ball comes into the box. And I think the Union realized that, yeah, you know, despite they had this 2-0 lead, they gotta make sure that they need to stay focused and maybe even push for a third goal to really kill this game off. They had an opportunity in the 84th minute, but Kalina was able to deny Gastek from 12 yards out. And yeah, in the end, the Union were able to walk away with a 2-0 victory. As the shots in this one, 9 shots compared to the 10 that Charlotte has, 6 shots on goal compared to the 1 that Charlotte has, 2 shots off target compared to the 4 that Charlotte has, 1 shot that was blocked compared to the 5 that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that the Union has in this game. And yeah, as I said, this was a very Union kind of win for them, but you know, for Charlotte, I mean, there's really no shame of losing to the best team in the Eastern Conference and losing them on the road, and especially again, I thought they played well in this game, and if they were able to play like this against a much weaker opponent, they definitely would have got all 3 points coming out of this game, or at least at the very best could have got a points coming out of this one. Speaking of teams that could have got 3 points, that is what the Colorado Rapids are thinking after that game, the game that they had against RSL in the Rocky Mountain Cup, because this was really a game where it was one-sided. But you know the old saying, when you don't be very clinical in front of net, it's going to come back to haunt you, and it definitely haunt the Rapids in this game of them dropping 2 points against RSL. Now, early on, McMath was able to deny Rubio from close range in the 3rd minute, as the Rapids were clearly in control early in this game. Rubio, I thought he should have scored as he missed a flick from 4 yards out. I mean, Diego Rubio had a lot of chances in this game, and it's kind of surprising the fact that he wasn't end up on the score sheet. Though, it's surprising, but also, as I mentioned before with the Rapids just not being clinical in front of net, it's kind of unsurprised at the fact that a lot of these Rapids attack just could not put one in because of some poor finishing. There was a shout for a PK for Colorado that was not given in the 12th minute, and then on the very next sequence on the other end, there was another shout for a PK for RSL, and that one wasn't given. Rosenberry hits a low shot that goes straight to McMath. Before we fast forward to the 43rd minute, a penalty was given to RSL after Rosenberry brought down Miro in the box, which Ruiz was able to take advantage of that penalty and give RSL a 1-0 lead. And despite the fact that the Rapids were by far the better team in the first half and was in control of this game, they were down 1-0 in this one against RSL. Now, they did restore parity in the second half when Abubakar was able to finally get a deserved goal for the Rapids in this one. And they sense that they can get that second goal, as in the 59th minute, Rubio had a chance to do so, but he hits the side netting in the near post. The Rapids, of course, continue to control the possession and press for the lead. Rubio had a long range effort that goes straight to McMath before Yarbrough had to make a save here on Cordoba shot. And, he wasn't really thrust into the action a lot of time, but, this was one that he kind of needed to do that because Cordoba did hit this one very well from close range, but Yarbrough was able to make a save on it. But then on the other end, McMath was able to deny Lewis, who puts a low shot on put a dangerous cross that was coming into the box. It wasn't actually a shot, it was him actually trying to put a cross in, and it seems like McMath was able to just get there to cut that one out. Barrios then tried to shoot from a very tight angle, and unsurprisingly that one hits the side netting. Before Rubio, he had another opportunity in the first minute of stoppage time as he missed a free header from 10 yards out on a corner. In fact, there was actually two Rapids players in the back post ready to head that one in, and that seems like it was a very classic Colorado goal, with them being the kings of set piece, and that one coming from a set piece and coming for the corner. And yeah, that unfortunately this time they weren't able to capitalize, and in the end it ends 1-1 between both of these Rocky Mountain rival. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 5 that RSL has, 6 shots on goal compared to 2 that RSL had, 7 shots off target compared to none that RSL had. Both teams had 3 shots on block, and possession wise 63% possession compared to 37% possession that RSL has in this game. And like I said, overall, the Rapids, they will be kicking themselves that they didn't get all 3 points in this game because of the lack of finishing. And for RSL, they're definitely going to be the more happier side, because there was no doubt that this was not a good road game for RSL, and probably one of their poorest performance this season, and maybe even the poorest performance, because even in that loss against Sporting KC, I thought they looked much better than what they did in this one. But hey, they still were able to walk out with a point out of this game, and they will definitely take it, even if they did lose ground to LAFC in terms of that top spot in the Western Conference. But that being said, I am now going to actually wait a couple of hours, because now I'm going to go to watch the game between the Timbers versus the Galaxy, and then after that game is over, I will take a look at that game, and then the one other game between Inter Miami versus the Houston Dynamo, which, that game was supposed to be on this board, but because of the fact that that game had a long weather delay, it's going to be on the other board. But I'm going to switch boards now, but I'll be back in a couple of hours to look at the game between the Dynamo and Inter Miami, and also look at the game between the Timbers versus the Galaxy once that game is finished. So the game between the Galaxy versus the Timbers have just finished, and I'll definitely talk about that game in just a bit, because that was a very wild game. But let's first talk about the last game that happened on Saturday, which is between Inter Miami versus the Houston Dynamo. And like I said, there was a very long weather delay in this game, and that this game didn't actually kick off until 9:50 p.m. local time. But in the end, in an MLS is After Dark kind of game, the Dynamo did something that they haven't done in over a year and a half, and that, of course, is win on the road. Now, in the first half, and just 1 minute in, the Dynamo actually had an early opportunity to give the 1-0 lead if it wasn't for Marsman denying Bear from close range. Then he absolutely robbed Pico on a 1v1 situation in the 5th minute, and there was no doubt that Houston will start out this game the stronger side. But before I even get a chance to finish writing that, Miami almost get a 1-0 lead, and it's Lassiter almost score against his former team if it wasn't for Steve Clark able to deny him from long range. Mota then hits one straight to Clark before Pico hits one high from close range in the 11th minute. It was a very lively start for both teams in this game. I mean, certainly the long weather delay didn't happen. The spirit of both of these teams. Taylor then flashed one wide from 19 yards out before Robinson puts it high off of a deflection from 12 yards out. There was a shout for a handball for Miami that was not given in the 36th minute. Taylor then hits it wide from 20 yards out in the 41st minute. And despite there's been many chances for both of these teams, we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, it wouldn't be scoreless for very long, because Quintero would score the first goal of the game and the first goal for the Dynamo to give them a 1-0 lead. Then there was a penalty that was given to Houston not long after Marsman basically brought down Quintero, but in many ways this was a huge mistake from Nick Marsman, who, I thought he had an okay game in this, but this is definitely a moment that probably is the moment why a lot of Miami fans are saying he's not the answer in terms of the goalkeeping issue that we've been having. Because yeah, this one was just looked like it was an easy catch that he has. I mean, maybe a little miscommunication between him and one of his defender, but nevertheless, that seems like a routine catch, and he basically spilled it, which Quintero basically pounced on it, and Marsman kind of had to bring down Quintero, because if he didn't bring him down, Quintero was basically rounding him and putting that one to make it 2-0, but it did made it 2-0 on the penalty as Fafa Pico steps up to score on this penalty. Marsman actually came close of getting that one. He guessed the right way, but Pico just puts it in a good enough spot where basically no goalkeeper, even if they're diving the right way, is going to get it. And yeah, the Dynamo were up 2-0 in that one. Robinson did try to give Miami one back, but he hits it straight to Steve Clark. I think this is the first start that Robbie Robinson has had this season, and I thought he had a good game in this one, even if he wasn't on the score sheet. Clark then denied Robinson again, this time from long range, and then a penalty was given to Inter Miami after Clark basically chopped down Taylor in the box, which Higuain was able to step up to take the penalty, and you're just thinking that's a lifeline for Miami. Now the score is being 2-1, but what we didn't know is that for the rest of the game until the latter stage, things kind of become a little bit scrappy, and it seemed like the Dynamo was trying to be very defensive and trying to hold on to this 2-1 lead, while Miami, knowing the fact that throughout this season they have not really been a team that's good on the attack, it just feels like they kind of stutter, and especially I feel like they might have just used up all their chances that they had throughout this game. But we fast forward into the third minute of stoppage time. The Dynamo eventually sealed the victory as Fafa Pico would score again, this time from Tyler Pasher, to make it 3-1 in favor of the Dynamo. And like I said, for the first time in over 500 days and 26 games to be exact, they have won a game on the road. And albeit, yes, it's against the worst team in the league, that is Inter Miami, and a team that, I think this week I'm definitely going to make a video about Inter Miami, and even make a video about the Quakes, talking about both of these teams as sitting at the bottom of their respective conference and what has gone wrong with the team. Here's a spoiler alert. Something has to do with the front office and the ownership that is one of the big reasons why both of these teams are in the bottom of their respective conference. But yeah, like I said, Houston was able to walk away with the victory. Shots in this one, Miami actually had 22 shots compared to 11 that Houston has, but here's the problem. They only had 5 out of those 22 on target, and the Dynamo also had 5 shots on goal. 9 shots off target for the 5 that Houston has, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 8 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that the Houston Dynamo has in this game. And like I said, I think this week I am definitely going to make a video talking about Miami and also the Quakes in terms of just the disastrous start to the season that find themselves sitting at the bottom of their respective conference 5 games in. But moving on, in terms of talking about the game that I've just watched, and this is the one that I think you guys probably want me to talk about the most out of this video, is the game between the Portland Timbers versus the LA Galaxy. And one thing that I also forget to mention in the preview is that this is also a game. Well, actually, I don't know if I didn't mention this in the preview, but I said that there's going to be a lot of goals that could score in this game, because this has been a series where in the past there's been some goal scoring gallows that has happened in this one. And albeit, even if the final scoreline isn't as high score as the one we've seen before, where I've seen games where it ended like 5-3 or 5-2 or even 6-3 as recently as in that meeting between both of these teams in 2020. This game could have had that kind of scoreline with just so many chances in this one. And also some controversial moment in this one. I mean, I will also say that this is a game that I feel like as crazy as it is, it was ruined because of some bad refereeing decision. And refereeing decision this week, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's started to become a discussion again, in that we have seen some games that there has just some very poor refereeing that has happened, and this was probably the one that kind of takes the cake in terms of just so many controversial calls that, if those calls were made correct, maybe things would have differed in terms of how the outcome of this game would go. But early on in this one, the Timbers was definitely in control early in this game. John Strong was kind of obsessed with Diego Chara breaking the MLS all-time record in terms of fouls. Now, at the end of the day, it did not happen. I mean, he did tie the record that Kyle Beckerman, of course, hold, and I guess maybe John Strong is kind of obsessed with that because with the way that anytime when you break a record from Kyle Beckerman, you know that you are you basically earned it, and certainly for Diego Chara, a guy that has always considered the best number 6 and best defensive midfield player that we have seen in this generation of the league. It was not a big surprise that eventually he was going to break the record for the most foul in MLS history, and like I said, early on, it definitely seems like John Strong was obsessed with it, and especially Fox was definitely obsessed. Every time, like, Diego Chara commits a foul, they had to bring up that graphics, basically saying, oh, he's one away from breaking that record, or in the case when Chara did tie the record, they basically brought up that graphics once again. Though, despite the fact that the Timbers would control early, the Galaxy actually takes the lead, and it's Chicharito scoring from Grandsir to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. That was really the first opportunity that the Galaxy has had, but what a build-up that was, and especially this was kind of a very Chicharito-esque goal, where Chicharito is a guy that he is one of the best, if not the best poacher we've seen in the world, and he just basically gets into a good spot and basically tapped that one in, almost like a very Wando-esque goal that Chicharito has scored there. But yeah, that gives the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. It could have been tied at 1 apiece just 1 minute later if it wasn't for Bond denying Paredes' shot that took off a deflection. I mean, this game, with the way that both defense seems to be kind of optional at time, it was wide open with the chances that was happening in this one. Chicharito then missed wide despite having a free header from 14 yards out. I mean, I know Chicharito did get on the score sheet twice in this game, but that's definitely one that he would love to have back, and if he would have scored that, he would have got a hat trick in this one. I wrote some terrible defending in the box for the Timbers because there's just multiple times where they don't even bother marking Chicharito. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not a great idea when you're basically not even trying to defend a guy that is probably the most dangerous poacher and the most dangerous player whenever the ball comes into the box. But nevertheless, in the 16th minute, the Galaxy would double their lead, and it's Tuluma unfortunately scoring an own goal here. But I also thought the Timbers are just getting absolutely fleeced on the left flank. Like every time when the Timbers go, or not the Timbers, but the Galaxy goes on that left flank, the Timbers just have no answer in terms of dealing with that. And it's unsurprising that, this was actually a delivery from Grandsir where he was just finding so much space to work there on the left. Tunuma unfortunately deflected into his own net, but you got to question that Timbers defense of the fact that, how in the world did you let Grandsir with so much space to work there on the left side. Though it could have been 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy just 8 minutes later, and in many ways it should have been 3-0 because after Ivicic was able to deny Cabral, but unfortunately he allowed a big rebound. Grandsir was literally there in the back post. All he had to do is just tap that one in, and yeah, he basically went full Ramel Kyoto. And for those of you that still don't know the Kyoto reference, remember last year when Kyoto missed that shot from like 1 yard out in that game that Montreal plays? Yeah, this was very similar to that. Although this one, it was more like Grandsir didn't even meet or put any contact to that whatsoever. Though I will say that the other thing that I think maybe the reason why Grandsir didn't meet that cleanly is that he tried to be a little bit too cheeky. Like I can see that with the motion that he was trying to kind of backheel that. I mean, it's nice to of course score a backheel goal, but is it necessarily when you're basically wide open in the back post and all you need to do is just put any contact into it? Yeah, no. So that was just a horrendous miss from Grandsir, and that he's fortunate that miss didn't really come back to haunt the Galaxy late in this game. Though in the 26th minute, Jimmy Chara tried to curl one in, but he puts it wide from 12 yards out before he actually went around the keeper and went around Bond, but his shot was clear off the line by Williams. They mentioned that this is the highest scoring head-to-head in MLS history, which, with the way how things were looking, it sure looked like it's going to head toward that part because, you know, both defense were pretty optional. I mean, I talk about the Timbers defense not doing very well. I could say the same thing about the Galaxy defense too. Like, there were times that they were allowing way too much space for the Timbers to operate whenever Portland goes on the attack, and you know, they're very fortunate that the Timbers were not being clinical, at least up to that point. Blanco then hits a long-range effort that goes straight to Bond. We had some pushing and shoving in the second minute of stoppage time near the end of the half, and before this pushing and shoving, there was actually a red card that was handed out to Bonilla, and this is where we get to the first of many controversial moments in this game, because, well, yes, he clearly lashed out on Grandsir in that play, and it seems like he kind of shoved Grandsir in the face. When I look at it a second time, I don't think he shoved Grandsir in the face, but more kind of like near the torso. Now, sure, I feel like, you know, that's something that you shouldn't be doing, and that when you're basically asking to get a card. But I feel like that was a little bit too harsh to be in a red card, and I don't know if the referee might have not seen it, but seen the fact that Bonilla actually, you know, shove Grandsir in the torso instead of the face. I mean, I think maybe he thought that Bonilla did shove Grandsir in the face, and, you know, knowing the MLS rule and their emphasis of no hands to the face, that's why it's worthy of a red card. But then this also goes back to VAR. Like, you know, this was a straight red, so you can go to VAR to basically check to see whether or not if the referee got the decision wrong, and maybe he can like overturn a red card and downgrade it to yellow. And the fact that they didn't even do that, I mean, it kind of also just will kind of foreshadow what was going to come for the latter part of this game, where, you know, it's shocking the fact that despite all the controversial call that has happened, the referee didn't even go to VAR at least once. I mean, we didn't see sequence where VAR did kind of check, but there was not one time where the referee actually gone to the monitor to check it himself for the second time. And there was definitely ones that I feel like he clearly should have done it, and this, of course, was one of them where, you know, he could have just easily go to the monitor to check to see whether or not indeed maybe he got mistaken the fact that Bonilla actually shoved Grandsir in the torso instead of actually in the face, as what I think he first thought that was the case. But nevertheless, the Timbers were down to the 10 men, and that actually would be the last action of the first half as we head to the second half, with the Galaxy leading 2-0. In the second half, more tempers flare between both team that started with Blanco basically shoving Depew to the ground. I mean, this game was a very heated affair, as it is the case where, you know, both of these teams, they do not like each other. But in the 51st minute, Tuiluma basically made it score on a free kick to make it 2-1 in favor of the Timbers. And I mean, that was just kind of a goal that Tuiluma, for whatever reason, this season is able to score. Like, he started to get a knack in terms of scoring free kick goal, and he did it again in this one. And I also like the fact that, you know, John Strong, you know how I mentioned before where sometimes John Strong basically jinxed a play, and that, you know, a good example of that is what happened in that game between Panama and the U.S., where literally John Strong jinxed the fact that the U.S. would go to get a clean sheet, and then Panama basically scored. But here, at least, he didn't really jinx it, and he kind of built up the anticipation that Tuiluma is going to put that one in, and guess what? It was in the back of the net. And yeah, the Timbers were back into this game, and like I said, you know, despite the fact that the Galaxy were up, man, you know, we've seen this before, where this season, for whatever reason, when you have a multiple goal lead, or if you have a lead heading into the final 15 minutes and you have a man up, then you could be in deep trouble, because we've seen before where the team down to 10 men and are fall behind time and again able to come back. And it seems like it was going to be the case again for the Timbers, because the momentum was with them. But then Alvarez almost made it 3-1 in favor of the Galaxy as he curls it just wide from close range. But eventually it would be 3-1 in favor of the Galaxy, as Chicharito would score from Edwards to make it 3-1 in favor of the Galaxy. But just 1 minute later, the Galaxy themselves would go down to 10 men as Delgado would actually get his second yellow card. And with the way that it feels like the referee was just being very trigger happy with the yellow card in this game, it was not a big surprise that we were going to get another sending off. And yeah, it's 10v10 soccer for the last 30 minutes. Blanco trying to make it a one-goal game again, but he puts it high from 10 yards out before Grandsir looking to try to stretch that lead for the Galaxy, but he missed wide from close range. And again, this game was wide open. Like, you couldn't predict who exactly is going to get the next goal with the way that both team was having a lot of chances, and that defense for both team were basically not a factor in this one. In the 73rd minute, Chicharito tried to go for his hattie, but Ivicic was able to deny him there. And then on the other end, Bond was able to deny Jimmy Char on the front post as the Timbers was trying to push that second goal and trying to set up a grandstand finish. And then this is where, once again, we get to the controversy of this game. So, there was a huge shout for a penalty as Jimmy Char looked like he was chopped down by Araujo. And, you know, they showed the replay a couple of times in terms of that foul. And I feel like, yeah, that should have been a penalty. Like, it's pretty clear that Araujo actually chopped down Jimmy Char in that play. And they actually did hold the play for a very long time to check or to allow VAR to check whether or not if that is a foul. But again, like I said, the referee, he did not opted to go to the monitor to check it in the screen, and eventually after that long delay he basically waved play on, and that's when the FU ref chant basically started to ring out in around the Province Park, and it would get louder to that chant because in the 90th minute there was another controversial call where there was a huge shout for a penalty after it looked like Depew basically handballed that one in the box. Now, this time they only show one replay of that, and on the one replay that Fox basically show, I mean, it's tough to tell. Like, I originally, my original thought would be that one looked like it actually hit the hand of Depew, but then from what I remember from that one look that I had is maybe that actually hits off of Depew's chest and then bounce into his hand. And, you know, again, it feels like the handball rule is just so murky nowadays. I mean, I know FIFA has that new handball rule, but there's just been times where I still don't even know if that new handball rule is implemented in MLS. And if it is implemented, then clearly MLS is not doing a good job in terms of it, because there's been times where I've seen that being called a penalty and then that's not and then times where that's not being called. And yeah, I mean, again, I wish they show a couple more replay of that, but you know, they only show the one of it, and again, the referee didn't go to the monitor to check it again to see whether or not if it's a handball. And again, the FU chant basically rang out, and it was definitely louder after when they deemed that of course was not a handball. Now in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, Ivicic almost committed a howler there as he basically almost did a Kalina there, trying to wrap the ball to Joveljic, which Joveljic wasn't able to put that one on target. But in the end, in a game that was crazy and also full of controversy, the Galaxy is able to walk away with a 3-1 victory against the Timbers, and perfectly now sets up in terms of that battle of El Tráfico that's going to happen next week. Like, I know Fox mentioned so many times in this game about El Tráfico, which is understandable because it seems like the media really loved that game, and that game is definitely going to be talked about throughout this entire week leading up to it. But yeah, you know, that even though that of course isn't going to be an interesting game, you know, for the Galaxy, they at least set themselves up in a good spot, getting the 3-1 win here against the Timbers. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 10 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots off target compared to 5 that the Galaxy had, 6 shots on block compared to 3 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And as much as I know Timbers fans will feel like they got robbed in this game, and yes, there were definitely calls that got against them, I didn't think they played well enough to deserve a point out of this game. And especially, you know, with just bad finishing and also bad defensive play, I mean, it's kind of a really hard ways to convince that they can, of course, deserve a point out of this game. And, you know, the slow start for this Timbers team continue. And I know eventually this team will turn it up, because I've seen this before where this team gets off to a slow start, but eventually they would hit a switch. But it's got to be very frustrating if you're a Timbers fan, the fact that, yes, I know they can turn it around, but it would be nice if they don't find themselves in this hole that they're in right now. and actually get off to a good start. But like I said, now they're going to have to do it again. They have to do what they have done recently, which is turn things around, because this is definitely not a start that any Timbers fans were hoping for after 5 games where they only have won of them out of that. Or actually, no, not 5 games, 6 games, because they did play last week against Orlando City, and that was, of course, a 1-1 draw that they had. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of both of these games and also the 4 other games that happen on the other board. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.